Cinema Classics is sponsored by the Gateway Film Center and is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to full shows online at wcbe.org. I'm Johnny DiLoretto.
I'm John DeSando.
This is Cinema Classics.
It is. Now,
Yeah.
I sat in this movie, a horror movie,
Yeah.
called Malignant.
Yeah.
So I need you to tell me, who is this guy, James Wan?
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with this guy. I became slowly fascinated by him over the past year during the pandemic. I watched a lot of these movies. The Conjuring films.
Yes.
Insidious.
Yep.
He's also got a couple of non-horror movies under his belt. Aquaman and one of the Fast and Furious
7.
movies. Okay, I haven't seen
Furious 7.
But this is the guy that created the Saw franchise.
Oh boy, forever.
And, for years I've seen this name, I've heard him, this talk of this name bandied about. He's hugely successful commercial film director. I just didn't care. It wasn't my thing, right? I needed to examine what was going on with this guy. So I watched Malignant as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not just the nuttiest hodgepodge,
it is a hot mess.
Yeah, but it's watchable, right?
Oh, listen.
I mean, it's one of those bad movies. Let me ask you. Here's the main question. Can't take your eyes off of this movie. It's got some interesting concepts in it. Is it deliberately bad?
I think it's deliberately homage to all the tropes that he could find. He went into the attic, opened up a chest, and took out every possible one. With some interesting side notes. For instance, I can't forget the image of the girl with the monster on the back. This is the one, right?
Yeah.
On the back of her head.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
You're right. Yeah. But wow. And because there have been more than one, and I'm thinking of the Night House, where this whole idea, the doppelganger idea, like that there's some monstrous other part of you or your husband or something that you don't know. So I think he's dipping into some serious stuff, and I agree with you. Sometimes I just have any idea whether the tongue is in the cheek or not.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the thing that fascinates me most about him is he seemed, Zack Snyder is terrible with actors, right?
Yeah. Zack
Zack Snyder's a great visualist, horrible storyteller, and even worse with actors. This guy he gets these great actors like Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga,
yes.
In the Conjuring
sure.
movies. And they are just able to hold it together, it seems. But, as soon as it's like almost the camera lingers too long on an actor's face after they've delivered a cheesy line or a terribly written line. And I don't know. That's the question I have. Why isn't he cutting away? Like, if he just cut away a hair sooner, it could save you that awkward, queasy feeling, right? But he doesn't.
I'd just say he is the first Asian director
to
have 2 movies that made over $1 billion. This guy knows something.
Yeah, I know he does.
And I think that the question that you asked, which is so appropriate for him, is his genius. That he is able to just straddle both worlds. For serious guys like us, he makes us question. But for other people, his craft, because because I've got a really good quote from him.
Okay.
About Saw, he says, that was part of my aesthetic that I was going for. I wanted to make the film really claustrophobic, and one way I was going to do that was every time we go to a new location, I'm not going to set up using an establishing shot. You don't see a house and then cut to the inside of the house. You cut to inside, to inside, to inside, he said. This guy is...
Okay, so here's the thing. With Saw, I haven't seen that movie since it came out.
I haven't either.
It seems so different and light years away from where he ended up. In other words, Saw is this kind of torture porn. There's this grotesque aesthetic about it. It's grimy and wet and gross, right? He has since his biggest hits being the Conjuring movies, and I mean horror hits. Obviously, Aquaman and Fast and Furious are different. They seem to have taken these classic horror tropes, and he frames them in this Disneyfied realm.
I was going to say
right?
he warms them up.
And that to me is why the movies are so successful, because he's softening. Look, they're effectively creepy. You get the jump scares and all that.
But nothing
stuff.
like Saw.
But yeah, it's not like that. I wonder why he chose to move so far away from that, because it seems like, thinking back on Saw, like that could be a really creepy. Like this guy could take you to really scary places, and he doesn't.
Don't you think that that he reaches his apex in horror with Saw? That there is no other place for him to go. But if he's really a good filmmaker, if he is dedicated to his craft, then he moves over, I think, to Conjuring. Conjuring is a family film in a way. It's family horror.
Yeah.
It's easy to take.
Right.
And so I think he has made a conscious decision to go that way. Because I don't think he has any other place to go with Saw.
That's, and that brings me to my other curious, like this other thing I was curious about Wan's films, is his use of sets. I don't know. When's the last time you saw Insidious, or have you seen Insidious?
Oh Lord,
it's been a while, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, Rose Byrne and Patrick Wilson again. Yeah. And their kid goes into this like inexplicable coma.
Right.
And there's some malevolent spirit haunting their house, right?
Well,
now that is shot in a real house, and for me, the first 2 acts of that film are pretty effective. You get this creepy sense that this stuff is unfolding in a real space. By the time you get to the Conjuring movies, especially the second one, the houses are so, the interiors are so obviously set.
Well, yeah, they're artificial.
He gets these sofas and wallpaper that are supposed to look lived in, but are clearly not lived in. and that's, again, I come back to this question: does he think we believe that that's dirty wallpaper, or these sofas are, beaten down, lived-in sofas, or does he expect us to see the artifice there?
I think partly the latter. For nerds like you who watch that kind of thing, he's pleasing you because he's challenging you, and you're asking that a great question, which I think is answered by his statement. It's the craft that he's interested in, and so whatever he does, here's a guy who doesn't make establishing shots. He sends you right into the place and makes you look at his wallpaper. And so guys like you are intrigued. Other guys who don't pay that much attention, it washes over and it seems real to them. What do they care? They can't wait for the hatchet to come.
It just makes me crazy.
But I think you're not giving him, well, you are, but you're not giving him enough credit.
Okay.
That he has control of every frame of his film.
I know he does, and at this level this stage of his career, where he's proven that he's a major box office behemoth.
Yeah,
I do wonder what is, you know what I mean? Is this guy just an accident, like a commercial accident, and how much of it is savvy know-how?
I think the latter. I think without question the guy's brilliant. And knowing what we know about really good directors, there's not a frame that goes out of their control. And so he is going to. Now, I'm thinking, what about, say, like, let's take the classic horror film, Psycho.
Yeah.
Is there any comparison? Can I certainly believe that Hitchcock is in control of every frame, right down to water going down a drain.
Right.
He's got it. Do you think this guy shoots with a shotgun? Okay, so he's got the tropes all over the place. But isn't he like Hitchcock in his control? Can't you see him doing the little cartoonish frames?
Well, here's what I think. I think that James Wan is no Hitchcock.
Yeah, well, okay.
That was
right,
our 10-minute
please.
mark.